My mother-in-law said, "Our family vacations aren't optional," until we sent postcards from Japan during their Florida trip. For 3 years, Daphne had dictated where we'd vacation. Always the same beach house in Destin, always the second week of July. Always with her entire extended family crammed into a rental that smelled like mildew and broken dreams. My husband Brennan would just shrug when I'd suggest we skip a year. "It's easier to just go," he'd say. Easier for him, maybe. I spent those vacations cooking for 17 people, while his mother critiqued my lasagna, and his sister Ren complained about the portions. Meanwhile, Brennan played golf with his dad and uncles. Last year was the final straw. Daphne handed me an actual schedule on day 1. 6 a.m., breakfast for everyone. Noon, lunch. 6:05 p.m., dinner. "We eat as a family," she announced. "And since you don't work, you have plenty of time." I had taken exactly 2 vacation days from my corporate law job. Brennan said nothing. That night, I told Brennan I was done. "Next year, we're doing our own trip." He laughed. "Mom will lose it." "Good," I said. In January, I booked us 2 weeks in Japan. First-class tickets, traditional ryokans, the whole thing. Cost $11,000 from my separate savings account that Brennan didn't know existed. When Daphne sent the group text in March about July's trip, I replied simply, "We won't be able to make it this year." My phone exploded. Daphne called 6 times. Ren sent paragraphs about family loyalty. Brennan's dad texted that I was being selfish. Brennan stood in our kitchen looking panicked. "Can't we just go for a few days?" He begged. "No," I said. "I already have plans." "What plans?" I showed him the confirmation emails. His face went pale. "You booked this without asking me?" "You've been going to Florida without asking me for years," I replied. He tried everything. Guilt about abandoning family, concern about the cost, even suggested we could do Japan another time. I didn't budge. The second week of July arrived. We landed in Tokyo while his family drove to Florida. I'd never seen Brennan so nervous. That first day, we visited temples, ate incredible sushi, soaked in an onsen. I watched him slowly relax, like he'd been holding his breath for years. On day 3, we bought postcards. Beautiful ones with Mount Fuji and cherry blossom. I wrote, "Weather is beautiful, food is amazing. Wish you were here." Signed it and mailed it to the beach house. Brennan looked at me like I'd committed murder, but then he started laughing. Really laughing. "They're going to kill us," he said. "Probably," I agreed. We spent 2 weeks eating, exploring, and actually talking to each other. When we got home, there were 47 missed calls. Daphne had left a voicemail so venomous I saved it. Ren had posted vague booking about ungrateful people on Facebook. But here's what broke me. During the family trip, Daphne had apparently spent the entire time complaining about us. She'd shown everyone the postcard and cried about her son abandoning her. She'd called me manipulative, controlling, and a dozen other things. And Brennan's entire family had agreed with her, including his dad and both siblings. Nobody had defended us once. When we didn't respond to the calls, Daphne escalated. She started showing up at our house unannounced. She'd let herself in with the key Brennan had given her years ago and rearrange our kitchen. One morning, I came downstairs to find her scrubbing our bathroom, muttering about how I clearly couldn't keep a proper home. I changed the locks that afternoon. That's when things got interesting. Daphne called Brennan sobbing, claiming I'd locked her out of her son's life. What I found in our bedroom 3 days later made me realize she'd been doing much more than cleaning. I'd come home early from work with a migraine. Our bedroom door was slightly ajar, which was odd because I always closed it. When I pushed it open, I found a small camera tucked behind our alarm clock, not hidden particularly well. Almost like she wanted me to find it. My hands shook as I pulled it out. It was still recording. The memory card showed 11 days of footage. 11 days of our private bedroom. I sat on the edge of the bed feeling sick. How long had this been here? I checked every room, found 2 more cameras. One in the guest bathroom, hidden inside a decorative soap dispenser. Another in the living room, tucked into a houseplant she'd brought us as a gift 3 months ago. 3 months of footage. I didn't watch any of it. I called a security company immediately. The technician found 2 additional cameras I'd missed. One in the kitchen vent, one in the home office disguised as a USB charger. 5 cameras total. The technician whistled low. "This is professional-grade surveillance equipment. Not cheap. Whoever installed these knew what they were doing." I knew exactly who had installed them. I saved all the memory cards and documented everything with photos. Then I called a lawyer. Not just any lawyer. Teresa Chen, the most vicious family law attorney in the state. She'd made partners cry during depositions. When I explained the situation, she was silent for a long moment. "Tell me you haven't confronted her yet." "I haven't told anyone except you." "Good, don't. We're going to need police involved, but let's be strategic about this." That night, Brennan came home to find me sitting in the dark living room. "Why are all the lights off?" he asked. I turned on the lamp and showed him the cameras arranged on the coffee table. His face went from confused to horrified in about 3 seconds. "Where did these come from?" "Your mother installed them. In our bedroom. Our bathrooms. Everywhere." He picked one up with trembling hands. "This has to be a mistake. Mom wouldn't." The technician pulled 14 weeks of footage off these devices. "Your mother has been watching us for months." He sat down hard. Started crying. Not pretty crying either. The kind of crying that comes from your entire worldview shattering. "I don't understand. Why would she do this?" "Because she's been obsessed with controlling you your entire life, and I'm the obstacle." I showed him the invoice from the surveillance equipment. It had been purchased on his mother's credit card. Her name was right there on the receipt. No denying it. Brennan wanted to call her immediately. I stopped him. "We're doing this the right way. Through lawyers and police. She's my mother. We can't send her to jail. She committed multiple felonies. She violated our privacy in the most invasive way possible. She watched us in our own bedroom." The reality hit him then. Everything that meant. His face went pale. "Oh God." "She saw everything," I confirmed. "Every private moment, every conversation, Everything. He threw up in the kitchen sink. I waited until he was done, then handed him water. The lawyer wants to meet tomorrow. We file a police report, get a restraining order, and press charges. Can't we just talk to her? Make her understand this was wrong? Brennan, she installed 5 hidden cameras in our house. She spent thousands of dollars to spy on us. She knew exactly what she was doing, but he couldn't accept it. Spent the whole night pacing, calling his mother repeatedly. She didn't answer. Around 2 a.m., his phone finally rang. I could hear her voice from across the room, shrill and panicked. Brennan, honey, I don't know what she told you, but... He put her on speaker. Mom, did you put cameras in our house? I was worried about you. She's changed you so much. I just wanted to make sure you were okay. You spied on us for 3 months. In our bedroom. Silence. Then, a mother has a right to know what's happening with her son? No, he said quietly. No, you really don't. He hung up. It was the first time I'd ever seen him stand up to her. The next morning, we met with Teresa Chen. She reviewed everything with the efficiency of a surgeon. This is clear-cut. Illegal surveillance, invasion of privacy, possibly stalking depending on her other behaviors. We'll get a restraining order easily. Criminal charges are up to you. Will she go to jail? Brennan asked. Probably not for a first offense, but she'll have a criminal record, pay significant fines, and she'll be legally required to stay away from both of you. We filed everything that afternoon. Police report, restraining order petition, criminal complaint. The detective who took our statement looked impressed in a disturbing way. In 15 years, I've seen a lot of surveillance cases. This is thorough, almost obsessive. That's his mother, I said. The detective's expression shifted to something like pity. The restraining order hearing was set for 5 days later. In that time, Brennan's phone never stopped ringing. His father called him a traitor. Ren sent a 4,000-word text about how I'd poisoned Brennan's mind against his family. Cousins, aunts, uncles, everyone had an opinion. All of them defended Daphne. She was just concerned. You're overreacting. Family doesn't do this to family. Not one person asked what Daphne had actually done. Brennan stopped answering after the first day. Just let the calls go to voicemail. But I could see each message breaking him a little more. On day 3, his father showed up at his office. Made a scene in the lobby yelling about ungrateful sons and manipulative wives. Security had to escort him out. Brennan's boss called him in after. Take the rest of the week off. Get this sorted. He came home early, looking destroyed. My dad tried to get me fired. He called my boss and said I was having a mental breakdown. Did your boss believe him? No, but he suggested I take some time. Let things calm down. Things weren't calming down. They were escalating. That night, Ren showed up at our house. Started pounding on the door at 11 p.m. I know you're in there. Open this door. I called the police. Told them someone was trying to break into our house. Ren was still screaming when the officers arrived. That's my brother's house. I have a right to see him. The officers were not sympathetic. Ma'am, you need to leave the property. Not until I talk to Brennan. His wife has brainwashed him. She's destroying our family. One officer looked at me. Do you know this woman? My sister-in-law. We've asked her to leave multiple times. That's when Ren lost it completely. Started screaming about how I'd stolen Brennan, isolated him from his family, turned him against his mother. The officers gave her a choice. Leave voluntarily or get arrested for trespassing and disturbing the peace. She left, but not before shouting, "This isn't over. You're going to regret this." The restraining order hearing was worse than I expected. Daphne showed up with her own lawyer. Expensive suit, slicked back hair, the kind of attorney who charged $800 an hour. She'd also brought character witnesses. The priest from their church, her sister, 3 of Brennan's cousins, all prepared to testify that Daphne was a devoted mother who would never do anything wrong. Teresa Chen just smiled. Your Honor, the evidence speaks for itself. She presented the cameras, the receipts with Daphne's name, the footage dates, and the police report. The judge examined everything with increasing disgust. Daphne's lawyer tried to argue she was worried about her son's well-being. My client was concerned about her son's marriage. She wanted to ensure he was safe. The judge cut him off. Counselor, your client installed hidden cameras in her adult son's bedroom. There is no legal justification for that. None. He granted the restraining order immediately. Daphne had to stay at least 500 feet away from us at all times. No contact whatsoever. No phone calls, no texts, no showing up at our house or workplaces. Violation would result in immediate arrest. As we left the courthouse, Daphne's lawyer caught up with us. My client wants you to know she forgives you for this misunderstanding. When you're ready to reconcile, she'll be waiting. Teresa Chen turned to him slowly. Your client committed multiple felonies. This isn't a misunderstanding. It's criminal behavior. If you contact my clients again, I'll add harassment to the charges. But the family harassment continued. Brennan's father started a smear campaign, posted on Facebook about how I'd turned his son against his family, how Brennan was being abused and controlled. Distant relatives who'd never spoken to us suddenly had opinions about our marriage. One of Brennan's uncles sent a letter to my workplace, claiming I was mentally unstable and dangerous. My boss called me in, clearly uncomfortable. I received something concerning. I want you to know I don't believe it, but I have to ask. Is everything okay? I explained the situation briefly, showed him the restraining order. He was horrified. Take whatever time you need, and if anyone from your husband's family contacts this office again, let me know immediately. We'll handle it. The stress was destroying Brennan. He lost 15 pounds in 2 weeks. Started having panic attacks. His family had been his entire support system, and now they'd all turned on him, because he'd chosen me over his mother's illegal surveillance. The criminal trial was set for 3 months later. In the meantime, things got creative. Someone slashed our tires 4 times in 2 weeks. Someone threw a brick through our living room window with a note attached. Family is everything. You're going to pay for this. Someone filed a false CPS report, claiming we were abusing children we didn't have. The investigator apologized profusely when she realized what was happening. I started documenting everything. Every incident, every message, every attempt at contact. Teresa Chen filed for an extended restraining order to include the entire family. The judge was less sympathetic this time. I can't issue restraining orders against people who haven't broken any laws. You need to prove they're behind these incidents. So I hired a private investigator. Cost me $3,000, but worth every penny. Within a week, he had photo evidence of Ren slashing our tires, video of Brennan's father throwing the brick, recording of his mother coordinating everything over the phone with her daughter. They'd been sloppy, too confident they wouldn't get caught. We went back to court with new evidence. This time, the judge issued restraining orders against Ren and Brennan's father. Both were charged with vandalism and harassment. Daphne's charges were upgraded to include conspiracy. Her expensive lawyer suddenly stopped looking so confident. The family finally went quiet after that. No more late-night visits. No more threatening notes. But the damage was done. Brennan's entire relationship with his family had imploded. He'd lost everyone except me. Some nights, I'd find him crying in the bathroom. I keep thinking about all the times I should have stood up to her. All the times I let her walk all over you. This isn't your fault, isn't it? I gave her that key. I never questioned why she needed to come over when we weren't home. I just assumed she was being helpful. The criminal trial happened on a Tuesday in October. The courtroom was packed with Brennan's family, all there to support Daphne. They glared at us like we were the criminals. The prosecutor laid out the evidence methodically. The cameras, the receipts, the footage timestamps. Daphne's lawyer tried to paint her as a concerned mother who'd made a mistake. She never watched the footage. She just wanted peace of mind. Teresa Chen destroyed that argument in cross-examination. Ms. Daphne, you installed cameras in your son's bedroom, where he and his wife sleep, where they have private, intimate moments. You're telling this court you never watched that footage? Daphne's face went red. I may have checked once or twice, just to make sure they were okay. You accessed the footage 247 times over 3 months. That's twice a day, every single day. You watched your adult son and his wife in their bedroom 247 times. The courtroom went silent. Even Daphne's supporters looked uncomfortable. I was worried about him, she whispered. You were obsessed with controlling him, Teresa said. And when you couldn't control him anymore, when he chose his wife over your manipulation, you escalated. You violated his privacy in the most invasive way possible, all because he took a vacation without your permission. The jury deliberated for 2 hours, came back with guilty verdicts on all counts. Illegal surveillance, invasion of privacy, stalking. The judge sentenced Daphne to 2 years probation, 200 hours community service, a $10,000 fine, and mandatory counseling. She was also ordered to have no contact with us for 5 years. As the sentence was read, Daphne started crying. Big, theatrical sobs. I'm his mother. I have a right to know what's happening in his life. The judge looked at her with open disgust. You have no rights to surveil your adult son. What you did was not only illegal, it was a profound betrayal of trust. Be grateful you're not going to prison. As we left the courthouse, Daphne's entire family stood outside like a wall of judgment. No one said anything. They just stared at us with pure hatred. Brennan kept his head down, kept walking. Once we got to the car, he started shaking. Full body tremors he couldn't control. I can't believe it's over, he whispered. It's not over, I said gently. It's going to take time to process all of this. He was right about that. The next few months were brutal. Brennan started therapy. Twice-a-week sessions to unpack 35 years of manipulation and control. He'd come home emotionally exhausted, barely able to speak. His therapist explained that Daphne's behavior wasn't just about the cameras. It was the culmination of a lifetime of boundary violations. She never saw you as a separate person, the therapist told him. She saw you as an extension of herself, someone she had a right to control and monitor. When you started making your own choices, she escalated because her control was slipping. Brennan had never thought about it that way. Started remembering things. How his mother had read his diary in middle school. How she'd open his mail through college. How she'd show up at his first apartment unannounced and rearrange his furniture. How she'd tried to break up his previous relationships if she didn't approve. She did the same thing to my dad, he realized one day. She controls everything about his life. What he wears, who he talks to, where he goes. I just thought that was normal. It wasn't normal. None of it was normal. As he worked through these realizations, something shifted. The grief he'd been carrying started transforming into anger. Healthy anger. She stole years from us, he said one night. Every vacation we went to that I hated. Every time I let her criticize you. Every time I chose keeping the peace over standing up for my wife. She stole all of that. We can't get those years back, I said. But we can make sure it doesn't happen again. We made new rules for our life. No more people-pleasing at our expense. No more keeping the peace when it meant sacrificing our boundaries. No more family traditions that made us miserable. We started building our own traditions. The first year after the trial, we went to Italy for 2 weeks. No itinerary, no family, just us exploring. We ate too much pasta and got lost in small towns and slept in late. It was perfect. The second year, we went to Ireland, rented a cottage in the countryside, and spent a week reading by the fireplace. Brennan seemed lighter each year, less burdened. Like he was finally becoming himself instead of his mother's creation. But the family never let it go. They created a narrative where Daphne was the victim, where I was the villain who'd stolen Brennan and destroyed their family, where Brennan was weak and controlled. They spread this story everywhere. Church groups, neighborhood association, extended family, anywhere they had an audience. We heard it secondhand from people who didn't know the truth. I heard your mother-in-law is heartbroken. It's so sad when children abandon their parents. Family is everything. How could you do that to her? At first, Brennan tried to correct the record, would explain what actually happened. But people didn't want to hear it. They wanted the simple story, the devoted mother and the ungrateful son, so we stopped explaining. Let people believe whatever they wanted. The ones who mattered knew the truth. 3 years after the trial, we got a letter from Daphne's lawyer. She wanted to meet, to apologize and reconcile. My client has completed significant therapy. She understands what she did was wrong and wants to make amends. Teresa Chen's advice was clear. Don't engage. It's a trap. Either she's truly changed, in which case she'll respect your boundary to stay away, or she hasn't changed, in which case meeting her puts you right back in her orbit. We didn't respond. 2 months later, Brennan's father called from a number we didn't recognize. Brennan answered without thinking. Your mother is dying, his father said flatly. Cancer. Stage 4. She has maybe 6 months. She wants to see you before she goes. Brennan hung up, stood there staring at his phone. What if it's true? Then she'll die, I said. And that's sad, but it doesn't obligate you to see her. She's my mother. She's also the person who violated your privacy in the most extreme way possible, who spent months spying on us, who sicked her entire family on us when we tried to set boundaries. He struggled with it for weeks. The guilt was enormous. His therapist helped him work through it. You're allowed to protect yourself even from dying parents, especially from dying parents who've harmed you. In the end, Brennan wrote a letter, told his mother he hoped she found peace, but he couldn't see her, that the damage she'd caused was too deep, that he forgave her for his own sake. But forgiveness didn't mean reconciliation. He mailed it and then fell apart, cried for 3 days straight, mourned the mother he'd wanted, not the one he had, mourned the family he'd lost, mourned the version of himself who'd kept hoping they'd change. 6 months later, his father called again. She's gone. Funeral is Saturday. Brennan didn't go. Ren sent him vicious messages about missing his own mother's funeral. She spent her last months crying over you. You killed her with your selfishness. The guilt nearly destroyed him, but his therapist kept him grounded. You set a boundary. You maintained it even when it was difficult. That's not selfish. That's self-preservation. A year after Daphne's death, something unexpected happened. Brennan's younger cousin, Owen, reached out. He was 23, recently graduated from college. I need to talk to you about Grandma Daphne, about what really happened. We met him at a coffee shop, both wary. Owen looked nervous. I've been in therapy for 6 months, working through some stuff, and I realized something. The way the family talks about what Grandma did to you, it's not normal. It's really not normal. He explained how he'd been researching surveillance laws, trying to understand why we'd been so upset. She installed cameras in your bedroom. She watched you for months. That's not love. That's control. Thank you for understanding that, Brennan said quietly. Owen nodded. I'm trying to figure out if what happened to me was normal too. I'm starting to think it wasn't. Over the next hour, Owen shared his story. How Daphne had controlled every aspect of his childhood. How she'd opened his college acceptance letters before his parents could. How she'd tried to dictate his major, his career, even his girlfriend choices. How when he'd pushed back, she'd turned the family against him. I thought I was crazy, Owen said. Everyone kept telling me I was too sensitive, that Grandma just cared a lot. But after she died, I found her journals. She'd written pages about all of us, about how to control us, how to keep us dependent. It was disturbing. He showed us photos of the journal entries, detailed plans for manipulating family members, lists of each person's weaknesses and how to exploit them, strategies for isolating anyone who resisted her control. My name appeared 47 times. Every entry about me included ways to break me or remove me from Brennan's life. The cameras had been just one strategy. There were others she'd planned but never executed. I made copies before Dad burned the journals, Owen said. I thought you should know, should see that you weren't crazy. She was actually doing all of this deliberately. Brennan read through the entries with tears streaming down his face. She planned everything, every guilt trip, every manipulation, every family gathering designed to make us miserable. I'm so sorry, Owen said. The whole family should have believed you. We should have protected you instead of attacking you. We stayed in touch with Owen after that. He started setting boundaries with his own parents, got himself into therapy, started building a life separate from the family's control. 2 years later, he got engaged to his boyfriend. The family threatened to disown him if he went through with it. He got married anyway, invited us to the wedding. It was the first time we'd seen any of Brennan's family in 5 years. The ceremony was small, beautiful, exactly what Owen wanted. During the reception, Ren showed up uninvited. Started making a scene about Owen destroying the family, about how first Brennan abandoned them, now Owen, about how their grandmother was probably rolling in her grave. Owen called security, had her removed, told her calmly, "You're not welcome here. You've never been welcome anywhere I am." After she left, Owen gave a toast. I want to thank everyone here for supporting me, especially my cousin Brennan and his wife. They showed me it's possible to break free from toxic family patterns. They showed me that leaving can be an act of self-love. The remaining family members who'd attended looked uncomfortable. Some left early, but the people who stayed, the ones who genuinely loved Owen, celebrated long into the night. Driving home that evening, Brennan said, I think I'm finally okay. Yeah. For years I kept waiting to regret it, to wish I'd made different choices. But I don't. Breaking free from my mother was the best decision I ever made. He reached over and took my hand. Thank you for not letting me go back to Florida. 5 years after the trial, we had our first child, a daughter. We named her Elena, after my grandmother. When people asked if we told Brennan's family, we just smiled and said no. Some people pushed back. They're her grandparents. They have a right to know. Actually, they don't. Brennan would say calmly. We're not in contact with them, and we won't be. The questions eventually stopped. We built our own life, our own family, our own traditions. We vacation wherever we want. We host holidays with friends who've become chosen family. We make decisions together without outside interference. Sometimes Brennan gets sad, mourns what could have been if he'd had different parents, but he never regrets his choice to leave. Last month we got a letter from his father, a long rambling thing about regret and wanting to meet his granddaughter, about how Daphne's death had made him realize what was important, about how he'd been wrong to support her behavior. Brennan read it once, then put it in the shredder. Do you want to respond? I asked. No. He had years to make things right. He chose her over me every single time. I'm done giving second chances to people who never changed. We were cleaning out the garage last weekend when Brennan found the old photo albums his mother had given him years ago. Hundreds of pictures of family vacations, holidays, celebrations. He flipped through them slowly. You know what's weird? I'm in every photo, but I don't remember being happy in any of them. He closed the album. Should we keep these for Elena? So she knows where she came from? She comes from us, I said. That's all she needs to know. We recycled the albums, started a new one filled with our adventures. Elena's first trip to the beach. Our week in Portugal. Lazy Sunday mornings. Real smiles. Real joy. Last week, we got the postcards from Japan framed. The ones we'd sent to that beach house 5 years ago. Hung them in our living room as a reminder. Sometimes the most rebellious thing you can do is choose yourself. Choose your peace. Choose your happiness over other people's expectations. Brennan stands in front of those frames sometimes. Studies them like they're fine art. Do you ever wonder how different our lives would be if we'd just gone to Florida that year? Every day, I admit. And I'm grateful we didn't. Me too. Our daughter will grow up knowing her worth isn't determined by family expectations. She'll know that boundaries are healthy. That saying no is a complete sentence. That some relationships, even family ones, aren't worth maintaining. She'll know these things because we lived them. Because we chose each other over tradition, over obligation, over guilt. People still ask sometimes why we're estranged from Brennan's family. We've stopped explaining. The people who understand don't need an explanation. The people who don't understand never will. We're just living our lives now, free from surveillance, free from manipulation, free from the weight of people who saw us as possessions rather than people. Sometimes I think about that beach house in Destin. Wonder if they still go every July. Wonder if they talk about us. Wonder if they've learned anything. Then I remember it doesn't matter. They're part of our past, not our present, not our future. We're building something better, something healthier, something true. And we're doing it on our own terms. No family vacations we don't choose. No obligations we don't want. No cameras hidden in our home. Just us, our daughter, and the life we've deliberately created. The life that started when we sent those postcards from Japan and refused to apologize for choosing ourselves. That's the thing they never understood. It was never about the vacation. It was about autonomy. About being seen as adults capable of making our own decisions. About respect. When they couldn't give us that, when they responded to boundaries with surveillance and harassment, they lost the privilege of being in our lives. And we're okay with that. Better than okay. We're thriving in a way we never could under Daphne's control. Yesterday, Brennan came home with tickets to Thailand. Thought we could go next summer, make some new memories. I smiled. Remembered the panic in his eyes that first trip to Japan. How far we'd come. Sounds perfect. And it will be. Because it's our choice. Our adventure. Our life. That's what freedom looks like. Not perfect. Not without complications. But ours. Completely ours.